Greetings, everybody. This is episode 1 of Existential, and I'm super excited to get started. So, today I want to talk a little bit about performative identity and social masks, just to kind of brush on the surface. We're definitely going to get into this in a different coming episode, definitely, but I just wanted to kind of brush the surface here. So, I'm going to entertain a few different topics, uh, beginning with what it is, who typically does it, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And mind you, this is all from my own perception, and this is in no way a comprehensive actual list or study. This is just my own philosophy. So I believe it's a front or a mask of identity, and it brings about it brings a, I mean it's a really it really it can help someone in really in many ways. And it's so attractive because putting a mask or a false identity up is it brings reactions. It's a very entertaining thing. You'll notice that we'll talk a little bit about later that who actually does it, and you'll find that those people are particularly entertaining to be around or captivating to really just to be around. Yeah. So performance brings about reactions. Oh wow. Oh, he's so interesting. Or yeah, and fundamentally, it's a safe haven from actual hits to the self, right? It's a kind of guard from pain, emotional pain, or um, it puts up a defense or a guard. You know, people who are confident don't need to have walls around their kingdom. You know, they don't have to have walls around their army. They're strong enough that they can show their kingdom without having any walls around it. They're safe by themselves. Um, so I always like comparing this to an LLC. So an LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and companies like Amazon or Google, for instance, are LLCs. This means that if they were to incur a lawsuit, the lawsuit would be on their company and not the individual employees or owners of that company, right? They have, like the name says, limited liability. So, in the same vein, this goes on. This is like a social mask. When someone hurts you or gives you some sort of emotional pain, it's the performative identity or it's the mask that is hit. It is the brand or the mask, if you will, that takes the emotional beating, and not you. You and your brand and you and your performative identity are two separate entities. You guys are two separate things. And by doing this kind of allows, or at least in my past experience, it allows me to kind of separate myself from the pain of a comment, you know. And, by the way, as a rule of thumb, the more in touch you are with something or with an identity, or when you're in touch with anything, the more you feel from it. I always like giving this example. If you go to a friend's house and someone offends the furniture, it means very little to you. In fact, you'd be more appalled that they offended the furniture than actually be offended by it because you have no connection to it. Now, move that over to your house. If someone comes over to your house and sits down and makes a negative comment about the furniture, let's say it's a couch, right? Let's say it's a couch that your grandmother gave you. You have sentimental connection to it. Now, this person who came over to your house offended you for it. You're not appalled, but you're hurt. You're hurt that I'm in touch with the couch, right? It's more than an actual couch. It's more than its actual components of, cotton or whatever it's made of. It has more. It's an actual connection to it. In other words, the more you're connected with something, the more of an emotional connection you have, and the more vulnerable you are to being hurt by it. At least that's what I believe. And the more in touch you are with your own identity, or the more separate you are from your mask, the less you can really feel. You can really personalize the pain. So we move on and we ask, who does performative identity? And this I want to emphasize is just a brief list of who I believe really does performative identity. But before we entertain this question, I want to give a thanks to our sponsors. Alright, so who does performative identity? Number one, I believe salesmen, right? This is definitely a really big one, and people notice this one more than anything. So when a salesman says, "Hi, how are you doing?" or "Hi, how's your day going?" he's not actually asking you about your day specifically. He really does not care about how your day's going. He's asking you as an extension of decency and as a way to sell the car, for instance, right? So it's a performance. Now, when he says, oh wow, look at this unbelievable ultra luxury leather, how it meets the gorgeous Alcantara wood, right? It's these small elements that he would not normally say, right? This is a performance. It's part of an act. He's filling the shoes of someone else, right? He's the host to the performance. He's the actor, right? And when he's talking about the car, when he's raving about how amazing the car is right in front of you, you can clearly, it doesn't take Einstein to see that, okay, obviously it's not him, it's his performance. Number 2 is an interesting one. So I'm going to suggest American professionalism. American professionalism in terms of dealing with others. You know, when you're dealing with other people, so you have two people, right? When I'm doing work, when I'm working, right, and I'm trying to get my product out there, whatever it may be, when I send an email, it's very different than when I send an email to my brother, let's say, because an email to a coworker might sound something like this: greetings, I hope the weekend has treated you well. I wanted to contact you in regards to the email you sent on blah blah blah, and signed, I hope to hear from you as soon as possible. Best, me, right? An email to my brother would sound like, hey bro, how are you doing? Hope all is doing well. I wanted to call you and ask you about something you sent a couple weeks back. Hope everything's doing well. Hope the family's great. Best, me, right? So you have these two separate performative identities, right? You have these two separate, one's performative, one's my work, right? One's separating, and in a way, that's a gift, you know. In a way, it's a very American thing, you know. You can separating me and my own and myself from my work self is a very, very, very great gift, and that's probably what I attribute to the reasons why, you know, America is so successful in so many different ways, is because when you're, unlike any other country or any other smaller business, right? In any other countries, you find bartering and trading. You know, oh no, I want it for $3. No, $2. No, $3. Oh no, how dare you not accept it for $3? Right? So it becomes a personal thing, right? The exchange of the price of goods is heavily based on trading and bartering and screen. Oh no, $2.50, $2, $3, $4, right? And it's this back and forth, right? But, you know, in the professional world, there's a set price of goods, and in order to meet that price of goods, there's no bartering. You have to put down the money, and then you receive the goods, right? And if I do not, you know, I can't argue with you about the price. Here, I cannot argue with you about the price. The price of goods is clearly $4, and if I do not accept that price, it's not you specifically that is denying me that is offending me by not accepting my offer. It's the reality of the price, and if you don't like that, well, I apologize, right? And it's not me, that's my work performance, right? So definitely American professionalism. And you'll see these people are, and you'll notice that by salesmanship, they're very entertaining, but entertaining in a way where you're captivated. You're not constantly like in a movie where you're meant to notice, where you're actually supposed to notice, oh wow, I'm actively being entertained. It's more of an underlying captivation where you're actually entertained by the way they talk. You feel alive around them. There's a very convivial energy when they're presenting you something. So that's what I mean when I say performance brings reactions. Number 3 on our list is definitely masculinity. Masculinity is a big one. So many men put this guard of performative identity on. Just this tough guy mentality, right? You know, Western society paints a very, very specific image of what a tough guy or what a traditional American man is supposed to look like, and that heavily relies on a tough guy invulnerability. So to cover up that reality, you know, there are many small elements involved in that. For instance, when a man would say when a man acts very bellicose or confrontational, or it's just kind of testing the waters, right? So there is a very strong level of performance, and when you're around men who are constantly, so men many times, or people many times, need a lot of validation. Validation is a whole separate topic I want to talk about sometime else, but when men are looking for applause or ego boost or entertainment, particularly ego boost. Like, for example, I'll give you a personal example. When I used to try to rely on others to push myself up, right? I would constantly ask for many different. I would carefully orchestrate conversations in order for the other person to praise me. I'd talk about, and you'll see this so many times, and it's quite obnoxious now that I'm looking back in retrospect, but it'll sound something like this. I'll say, "Hey, you hear about the fishing trip?" "Oh no, what fishing trip?" "Yeah, me and my buddies are gonna go fishing." "Oh, you know how to fish?" "Yeah, I've been practicing for 8 years." "Oh wow, that's amazing. You know how to fish?" Right? So it's this very, very specifically methodical, calculated, orchestrated dialogue in order to bring out the best compliment in you to help me. And this is a very, very big element in performance. So that's why a lot of these men, they'll go to very great lengths to solidify this need for validation, and it's quite entertaining to be around them. This kind of, just the level of performance kind of extends to even principals. Right, when I was in school, when I'm in school and people see when I see my principal, right, and when he enforces the law, it's clearly not him personally being mean to me. It's him enforcing the law. There is a level of performance there, and it's kind of interesting how widespread performance is, and how people are so susceptible to actually misconstruing that performance for who they actually are. Number 4 on my list, and I kind of resonate with this one the most, is definitely today's misguided youth. Misguided youth have a habit of this level of performance, a very high level of performance, and I can tell you this one firsthand. So number 1, I believe that there is an overall hunger to vent emotions. So I don't mean vent anger. I mean just to express themselves. When misguided youth need to fit in, there is a level of performance that needs to be done, right? When there are a lot of new obstacles and challenges youth face constantly, right? And there's this need to test the waters before I enter, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Number 2 is social. So a social need, right? So this is a big one. Oftentimes you'll hear what I'm about to say, but not through this lens of understanding it through performative identity, right? So I want to talk about how, just the basic struggle of fitting in, right? So fitting in is an interesting thing. If I'm red, I can't fit into a sea of blue. It is obvious. I'm a different color. Now, it is the likelihood of me actually fitting in there and being accepted in all reality, who knows, right? But to the person needing to fit in, the risks outweigh the possibility of fitting in drastically, so I need to change myself in order. I want to put on a blue costume in order to fit in, because the chances of the blue pool saying, "Hey, you're red, why are you with us here?" I mean, why does that make sense? Like, why are you here? Can't you see you're red and I'm blue, right? So this dissonance is strongly outweighed, or this dissonance is chances are it's a very high likelihood of happening versus, "Hey, you're red, I'm blue, but hey, let's do it. I think we can make great friends," right? So this possibility is disproportionate in a person in most youth's head, right? So this causes one to put on a costume, right? I will put on a costume in order to fit in with my other friends, right? So you'll notice that a lot of misguided youth, or most youth, or everyone really, people have a need for belongingness, and this is a whole separate topic, but people need belongingness. People need to have a sense of belongingness. Everyone needs a home. Everyone needs a place to go to dock to. Everyone needs that. Everyone needs that. So, this kind of the price of belongingness it really comes at any expense. So, I'll tell you when I got mixed up with the wrong people, when I get mixed up with the wrong group, when I was in alleys at times of the night where I should not have, or when I was in different areas where I really shouldn't have. Right, that was putting on a costume. So definitely there is an element of identity there. But we come to ask, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Is there what kind of perception should we have of the idea of performative identity? But before we do this, I want to thank again our sponsors. And alright, so we're back. So is performative identity a good thing or a bad thing? Like most things, we need context. By salesmanship, it is a great thing. So many times salesmanship, this performance that salesmen put on, right, is necessary, is an essential. Salesmanship is built on performance, and I'm telling you this from firsthand. I've sold, when I went around selling my products, even door to door. It's performance that really does it. So you need context for it. Number 2, everything is necessary in moderation. Even evil is necessary in moderation. Everything in this world, to maintain balance, to maintain order, is needed in moderation. You can't feel happy if you've never been sad, right? I mean, that's a whole separate topic again. But necessary. It's everything is necessary, and I'll explain to you why very soon. So, is performance really? Essentially, it provides a place to run to when one can't be one's own self. When I can't be myself, this place allows me to run to it. And it just when I'm not feeling myself, when I'm not feeling comfortable in my own body, right? It allows me to kind of switch identities. When one thing doesn't work, I move on to the next. So it goes to war before you. It goes to war. Anytime, for example, in emotional interactions, anytime you have any sort of need for, anytime you want to come up with this, oh wow, I came up with a new social tactic, I want to see how it'll work. I think I have a new way to fit in. I think I have a new way I can express emotion. I found this new, personally groundbreaking way of telling people that, just any sort of new emotional breakthrough that you want to test out in public, right? It's the performance that does it before you, right? So it'll go out to war, it'll go out to test the waters before you, as your true self, before you do that too. So I'll go out and I'll put on a little bit of a performance just to kind of test the waters. And if people start taking it, say, okay, interesting, and if I start feeling safe, I will let my guard down, right? And this is where the next one comes in, right? So when you're in any sort of weird situation, and in the same vein, any awkward situation where I don't want to be in, right? There's this level of performance that comes in. Even after that, here's number 3. When you're giving a speech, if you've ever given a speech in public, you'll see that you'll kind of fidget your hands a little bit. There's a lot of hesitation, but there is performance. There is a level of performance there, and you're performing when you're watching yourself give the performance. It's not you who's giving it. It is, of course, it's you who's giving it, but you're kind of looking at it as a bystander, which is helpful. So it does go to war before you. Number 4 is meeting new people. This is a big one. When you meet new people, when you're at a party, let's say, and the man on your right looks like someone you want to network with, you're listening to the conversation, you want to extend their hand, right? You don't know if this guy is going to be confrontational, bellicose, mean, nice, welcoming, he might reject you, right? There's a possibility of rejection, potential, pain to the self, right? So there's a default need for performance, right? So when you meet new people, you extend your hand, of course, but you're not fully there, right? Most people don't really have healthy esteems. Many of us don't really have healthy esteems, and we'll kind of put this performance on, and once we assess, once we make a very brief assessment, okay, this guy's okay, he's not in actual danger or harm to myself, then there is then you can accept to lower the walls down, and then show, okay, I'm vulnerable, I'm okay, So to conclude, it is a gift from above that we have a place to resort to. I always personally believe that insanity is being in pain without having a coping method, right? You kind of just in the state of, I don't know what to do, and it's a very, very scary thing to say the least. So in a way, it really is a gift. It really is a gift from above. And with that, I'm going to close. So thank you very much for listening. Tons more episodes to come, doing an episode every single day, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of Existential.